Alrighty, it is close enough. So, this is the second in a series of 30 workshops I'm going to be doing, working through this book. It's called Writing Magic, Creating Stories That Fly, written by Gail Carson Levine, who is the lady that wrote Ella Enchanted. These chapters are all extremely short, and then at the end of each she gives some writing workshop ideas to write from. So after I'm done with the reading, then we can discuss it while we're working on our own pieces from the exercises that she gives. So this particular chapter she titles Why I Wrote This Book, but this is also quite a bit about main characters. She says, "When I was able to make writing my full-time job, I felt like the luckiest person on the planet. So I decided to share my luck and teach a creative writing workshop in my hometown as a volunteer. I've been doing it for many years now, and it's made me feel more fortunate than ever. I've loved working with the kids who've come to me. I feel privileged to know them. They're part of the reason for this book. In teaching writing, I've learned more about how I write, more about the way fiction happens, more about the ways my writing gets into trouble, and the ways my students' writing gets into trouble. I want to share what I've learned with as many kids as I can. I write fiction for lots of reasons. One is power. I'm in charge when I write, so are you. You create the world of the story. You make the rules. I write to tell myself a story or to tell it to the child reader I once was, because I know what she would have liked. I write to change an old story and tell it the way I think it should be told. Most of all, I write to find out about myself. You learn what you're made of when you write. You amaze yourself by making a joke or writing something truly creepy. Huh, you think. I didn't know I could do that. When I write, I make discoveries about my feelings. This example is a little sad, so get ready. My father died in 1986 when I was 38, and my mother died in 1987. In 1989, before any of my work had been published, I wrote a picture book titled Dave at Night about an orphan who was sent to an orphanage to live. In real life, my father had been an orphan who grew up in an orphanage. In my story, the boy has magical dreams about a couple whose son has died, and they have magical dreams about him. The couple and the boy meet when they're awake and fall in love with each other. The couple adopts the boy, and they all live happily ever after. No one would publish the picture book. I expanded it into a novel, and still no one would publish it. Eventually, I put it aside and wrote Ella Enchanted. After Ella had been accepted for publication, I sent the novel version of Dave at Night to my editor. She rejected it too, but she asked me to consider revising it. I hadn't looked at it in a few years, so I reread it and got a shock. Still grieving intensely for my parents was when I had wrote it. I thought I was writing about my father, the orphan, but when I reread it, I realized the orphan I had been writing about had been me. It was I who missed my parents so much I wanted a new set. I was hugely grateful for the insight. Before, I hadn't understood the depth of my feelings, but now I do, and writing got me there. I was able to rewrite the book, and this time my editor accepted it. Now, before I go into the writing prompt, I want you guys to open up a note card or grab some paper or something. One of the things I want you to be thinking about is what are ways that your writing gets into trouble. So you can jot those ideas down and look at them another time, or work on writing down how your writing gets in trouble another time. But just make sure that you do it. But our writing prompt says to write a story about a main character who finds a diamond necklace on a seat in his school bus. And that's the idea, but if you need to change it for the story, she says to feel free. If the necklace turns into a hat that enables the wearer to hear people's thoughts, that's okay. If the school bus seat turns into a seat in a movie theater, that's okay too. Go where your story takes you. Have fun and save what you wrote. And with that, we can open up the floor for discussion, or you can jump into working on the prompt, or you can go back and forth between the two. And you can either talk over voice or you can use text. It doesn't matter which one. Where do you get stuck? What are the hardest parts for you? Where does it just not flow right? Do you have any particular difficulties? I've been known to do that too, and sometimes what comes out is even better than where I got stuck. I've had that problem too. Sometimes that can help me get unstuck, and then I go back and I chop bits out, and then other times I just kind of take the whole thing and put it in a little side file for the possibility of a side story later. But I've noticed that my characters like to chat a bit more than I like sometimes. And I know that there are reviewers and editors out there that really dislike having details revealed in the conversation for some reason. I think it's more natural, but I guess to each their own. Mm-hmm.